Well, I'm not surprised that people have those views given the raft of really serious problems we've seen with Hillsborough, the Lawrence case and so on. But I think, from my position, corruption is not endemic in the police at all. The vast majority of police do what is a difficult and sometimes dangerous job with great integrity. But absolutely, the system needs to be tightened up, and that's why we've been taking steps to tighten the Independent Police Complaints Authority, to get the College of Policing to produce a code of ethics for the first time, to make it clear that there is a grip on this.
I mean, do you get the feeling coming back from the police that they take this seriously and they want to address it?
Yes, I think at all levels of the police, they're rather shocked by the public response to these various scandals that have hit. But they are scandals, and even if, as I suspect, only a very few officers were involved in corrupt behaviour, that's still too many. We've got to have a decent system to root them out. As I say, we're giving more money, we're giving more powers to the Independent Police Complaints Commission. So I think a lot of what people don't like is the thought of the police investigating themselves. So for serious and sensitive cases in the future, that won't happen.
But a lot of people think the Independent Police Complaints Commission has failed up to now. Isn't it time to get rid of that and bring in a new body?
I don't think so. I think that rebadging the Independent Police Complaints Commission or merging it with Her Majesty's Inspector, which does a completely different job, isn't the way forward. You just end up with years of bureaucratic reform rather than actually getting to grips with the issue. What we've done is given the Independent Police Complaints Commission more money, we've given it more powers, and we've said that any serious and sensitive case will be investigated independently in future, and that, I hope, will begin to restore public confidence.
What do you think was going on? I mean, what, was it just a different culture? I mean, why were things allowed to get to such a pitch where people could behave within the police in such a way? I mean, it's almost baffling. What do you think was happening?
Well, I think it's clearly a historic culture where, because we've always had this very, very good tradition in this country of citizen police, if you like. You know, the police are the people and the people are the police, as Peel famously said nearly 2 centuries ago. We've always had that tradition, and so people probably didn't scrutinise the police carefully enough in the past, and what's grown up in an era where all institutions have to be more transparent and should be more transparent. People are less deferential than they used to be. We're now, it means that the police have to get to grips with the modern world as well.
You call it a historic culture. Are you absolutely confident this is something from the past which is not continuing now? Well,
I'm absolutely confident that we are taking the steps as a government to root out corruption and to set up systems to make sure that the police are much more transparent in the future. And that doesn't just mean institutions, it also means the way they operate. We're working very hard to introduce body-worn video so that if an incident is happening, then it will be recorded contemporaneously. Now that acts as a protection for the police officer from malicious complaints, but also, of course, it means that the police officer knows that what they're doing is on camera as well.
I mean, sum it up for me. I mean, what would you say is of the 64% who think there is a problem here? Why should they feel confident that you're on top of it now?
Well, there is certainly a problem. I think anyone who read the Ellison report into what happened after the terrible murder of Stephen Lawrence would accept there's a problem. But what we're doing is acting across the board, both having individual corruption allegations assessed and investigated by people not inside the Metropolitan Police, strengthening the IPCC, producing for the first time a code of ethics for the police, and having a police and crime commission as elected officials whose whole job is to hold the police to account. The police are now under much, much greater scrutiny than they ever have been in their history.
Do you think Sir Bernard Hogan-Howe is the right man to run the Met?
Yes, I think with all these problems, the Met is doing a good job. Crime is falling in London and across the rest of the country in aggregate as well. So in terms of what we actually ask the police to do to cut crime, they're doing a good job. But there are clearly serious problems, and with all the measures we've taken, this will in time lead to the change in the culture that we all want to see.
Do you think governments took their eye off the ball a bit on this in terms of how the police were behaving and ensuring that there were adequate inspection regimes in place?
I think there's been a fairly gradual progress that the IPCC itself was set up in response to previous scandals, and it has taken some time to get to the point where we think actually we need to take the action that we have taken over the past couple of years, which I think people will see in future is a step change in the way the police are governed and the police are scrutinised.
Final question, how would you sum up the view of the public for the police now? Is it in a crisis in terms of the public's confidence in the police?
Well, I think public confidence in the police is less than it was. It's less than I'd like it to be. It's still higher than it is in some other institutions, including politics, journalism, bankers and so on. But nevertheless, we absolutely need very, very high public confidence in the police, and I would like to see it much higher than your poll suggests it is.